All right. I sound like a broken record, essentially, because we're going to talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
Now, what you guys do all day, well, hopefully do all day and sometimes at night, right, is study and sit behind a desk. So, and then we got mobile phones and devices and all that kind of stuff, so we end up dropping our heads forward and rolling our shoulders over. So it's getting worse and worse as a population. So we want to try and get this zeroed out a lot. Because if this looks like this, you're probably not going to rotate too well.
Yeah.
So I'm talking from mid-thoracic or upper thoracic and then into cervical spine. The problem is lower lumbar doesn't do that, shouldn't do that. But once you get into that thoracic spine and then cervical, it will bend over like that, like you wouldn't believe. But the problem is it doesn't really want to rotate from there. Okay, because you'll start grinding your spine essentially in the easiest possible way to explain. So what's going to happen then is it's going to find a way, and your body's really good at going to the least point of resistance, right? So we'll then stand there and then go from there. What's going to happen on the front here, we start to see you get a hula move going on with the lower half, right? So we don't want the dance move going on. We want that to rotate rather than laterally move. Okay? Because now it's got to come back again.
Yeah.
So you're not actually rotating here well enough. So therefore what happens is, from a mechanical standpoint, your arms start to go up too much, and we start to see this shaft getting really, really vertical here. Okay? And your arm plane getting really vertical, and you're sort of moving now towards the golf ball this way, and you've moved off it. So in 2/100ths of a second, you've got to move back down into there again and move back over here to get to the golf ball. Sometimes that happens, sometimes that does not. And then we start to look at the leverage side of things, which you guys have got to talk about in your assessment, right? Now that's broken down. So what I've got to get you to do is keep that relatively straight. Now how we do that is rotate effectively. So therefore we use the ground effectively, right? So when we're talking about how, once again, force is generated, and you guys have got to talk about summation of forces, essentially what that means is it goes into different parts and generates more and more and more force as it goes along. So in other words, it starts from our feet, it works up and out, then through the golf club.
Yeah.
So if we don't have our feet grounded and we're not rotating properly and it's not a good structure, well then we are not going to end up hitting a good golf shot, right?
Yeah.
So we've got to really take care of that. So what we're going to do is get you rotating a little bit more effectively, and from a pure mechanical standpoint, what do you think that number there, that's essentially, that grey line is essentially a target line where that cross is lined up. This is the golf club, and then we got the club face open as well. So what's going to happen, what should that number be, do you think?
0.
Yeah, it should be plus or minus 2 degrees depending on what type of shot you want to play.
Yeah.
That's for my tour players, right? So if I can get that closer to 0, I'd be a really happy camper. All right. If you can get it into a positive and this into negative, so in other words hitting down on the golf ball, you will start to hook the golf ball, believe it or not. So it'll be quite interesting then for you, which is something that you're probably not used to right now. Okay. You'll pull it with your shorter clubs and you'll cut it with your longer clubs because of that pattern.
Okay.
So we've got to get you into a little bit better place here, trying to get you a little bit more effective with your rotation. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what would be a drill that you can generate for me, or tell me how you would end up doing this? What do you think you'd do?
Stand closer to the ground, keep my back straight.
Possibly. I want you to start to use mirrors a lot and start to look at yourself in the mirror, because that's going to feel like your back is actually arching the opposite way when you do this properly to start off with.
Yeah.
And that'll be a reassociation that becomes my golf move. It won't be, that's for sure. I don't want it to be, I should say. So we're going to really need to do some work with that, and then I'm going to need you to push down on both feet. So if I get you to push down on your big toe, yeah, that'll raise the arches of your feet and start to engage your glutes, so you engage your bum essentially. And then if you lose the pressure off the inside balls of those toes, well then you'll start to move laterally, and you can start to look at yourself in the mirror, and if I keep the center of mass here and rotate properly, my hip will move back towards the target that way ever so slightly. It should not break that line. Okay, so that's some reference points for you to look at yourself in the mirror.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay, away you go.